Terry Brennan was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He played football for Marquette University High School and the University of Notre Dame. He coached at Mount Carmel High School in Chicago and the University of Notre Dame. He is a member of the Chicagoland Sports Hall of Fame and the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame. When I was a child, there was a series of books called Vision Books. They were about saints and other wonderful people. My mother gave us these books for ourselves and for our friends when we were invited to their birthday parties. My two favorite books in this series were Champions in Sports and Spirit and More Champions in Sports and Spirit. The first book was about Yogi Berra, baseball, Maureen Connolly, tennis, Bob Cousy, basketball, Gil Hodges, baseball, Rocky Marciano, boxing, Maurice Richard, hockey, and Terry Brennan, football. It was published in 1956, and Ed Fitzgerald was the writer. From this book, I learned that Terry went to school in Whitefish Bay, a suburb of Milwaukee. At his home, they practiced the pole vault, the shot put, and the hurdles. He was on the football, hockey, and track teams for Marquette High School in Wisconsin. When Terry was a student athlete at the University of Notre Dame, he was president of his sophomore class. In 1947, he had a 97-yard kickoff return for a touchdown against Army. He started 30 games, and he played on 3 undefeated teams. He was a philosophy major, and he had an 85 average. Terry went to law school while he taught and coached at Mount Carmel High School. He won 3 city championships. He went to Mass every day. In 1953, Terry earned his law degree from DePaul University. Then he was the freshman football coach at the University of Notre Dame. In 1954, after he had been appointed the head football coach at the University of Notre Dame, a reporter pointed out to him that he was only 25 years old. Terry replied, "That's all right. I'll be 26 pretty soon." It's an honor to present the Sports Faith Award to Terry Brennan.
Well, thank you, Pat, and I'm very thoughtful of you, and want to thank you for this wonderful honor. There's not a whole lot left to say because he took my speech, but anyway, my parents were the ones. They didn't talk a lot about faith or religion. They just, by example, they went to Mass every morning, 6:30, and that was an example to us to go from there. And then we, my brothers, all our boys, we did the whole thing. And I liked what His Excellency Bishop said today about faith. I experienced a faith thing. When we had 4 fumbles in the first half, I had the faith, hopefully, they were going to do something right in the second half. But talking about Marquette High, and we had a lot of fun. And you forgot one thing. I was a Bengal boxer at Notre Dame, too. I won the boxing thing. Now, after 2 new hips and 2 new knees, I don't get too restless out there. But again, teaching, coaching, you don't preach, you show it by example, and that's always what I try to do. But I just want to have one quick story with a young man that I recruited from Minnesota named Bob Watuska, and good player. But the story that he tried to help me recruit, and what it was, we were trying to get a good quarterback out of Tyler, Texas, and he couldn't make it because of the rule down in Texas, where if you continued in high school sports, you couldn't go travel around to colleges and look at colleges. So his father came up, and I had lunch with him, took him out to the practice field, and I said, "Now just move around, see how we do things." So scrimmage was going on, and Bob Watuska played end then, and he had a sideline pass and chugging along, and my pal from Tyler, Texas, he was looking the other way, and Bob ran him right over, you know, and he's no small guy. So this guy, the glasses went flying, and he went flying. So I thought he wasn't going to get up, you know. So he said, Coach, he said, I wanted to watch the scrimmage. I didn't want to be in it. But it would be remiss for me to be in Chicago Bear territory and not tell you a story about Papa Bear. My second year at Notre Dame, we didn't go to a bowl game then, and what they did the last game, and had some of the players came in the office and said, Coach, could you get us some Bear tickets? They're playing Baltimore in that big game with Alan Amici and that gang from Baltimore. And so I got on the phone, and I said, can we get the thing? The game was a sellout for many, many weeks. So get on the phone with Papa Bear, and I said that the kids would like to see the game if they could. And of course, there was a big pause at the other end of the wire, you know. So he said, how many are there? And I said, 8. So another pause. And then finally he says, is the captain of the team coming up for this if I get to? I said, yeah. So he said, I've got 8 sideline passes for you. Well, these kids thought they died and went to heaven. They'd rather sit on the sidelines than up in a press box. So they left, and then they came back the Monday after the big game, and I said, I got something all set up for you. I went over to the bookstore, and I said, they have these blankets, blue and gold, and you know all the fancy stuff. And I said, here's the cost. Here's what you're going to pay, because if you go to Chicago for a weekend, you know, you can certainly do this. And they said, fine. So the blankets were shipped up. So many years later, we're out in Jim Fink's backyard up in Chicago, and his wife Maxine was still there. Big Ed was there also with Ginny. And so I explained the story of how all this happened. And and Ginny said, I was wondering what that darn blanket was doing hanging on our wall in our library. But anyway, again, thank Pat and Angela for taking care of my family, and I'm very proud to accept this award. And there would be one person that should be here. We can't. I lost my wife 11 years ago, and she'd be proud. And thank you as well as I'm thanking you. Thanks.